5 winter places in the US that locals avoid on purpose. I visited them anyway, and the scariest part wasn't what I saw. It was what started showing up in my recordings after I left. Because something about those places doesn't want company. It wants a witness. Welcome back to Scary Loop. If you're listening at night, keep one light on, just enough to see what's near you. People talk about dangerous winter locations like it's all common sense. Thin ice, whiteouts, avalanches, hypothermia. But there's another category nobody likes to admit exists. Places that aren't just risky, they're rejected. Not by warning signs, by the locals who live closest to them. They'll tell you the same thing in different words. Don't go there in winter. Not be careful. Just don't. I didn't believe in that kind of warning until December 3rd, 2024. That's the day I got an email from a stranger with a subject line that looked like a threat. Winter prohibitions. Read before you travel. No name, no greeting. Just a list of 5 locations. And in one sentence at the bottom, if you visit all 5, do not review your footage alone. I should have deleted it. Instead, I treated it like content. I told myself it was perfect. Real places, winter atmosphere, built-in tension. What I didn't realize was, the list wasn't written to scare me. It was written to stop me. This is what happened when I tried to turn it into a video. The first place on the list was in Colorado, the Moffat Tunnel area near Winter Park. Not the tunnel itself. Nobody's supposed to be in there. The list specified something smaller. Service door, East Cut. Do not knock. I flew into Denver and drove up on December 7th. The mountains were bright snow and sharp shadow, the wind making the trees creak like old wood. I wasn't planning to trespass. I kept to public areas, stayed where I was allowed, and filmed from a safe distance. But I didn't have to search for the door. A metal panel sat in rock, half buried by wind-blown snow, with a faded placard and a padlock that looked too new. No footprints, no tracks, just untouched snow, and one depressed spot, like something heavy had stood there recently. I zoomed my camera in. Scratched into the paint were 3 marks. Not letters, not a symbol, just 3 cuts like someone tested a blade. Then the wind changed. It stopped moving through the trees and started moving through the rocks, low and steady. And for a second it sounded like breathing. Not mine, not the wind. Breathing with a rhythm. In, out. In, out. My skin tightened. I checked my mic levels. Nothing spiked. But I heard it anyway. I took 1 step closer and my phone buzzed in my pocket. No signal up there. I knew that. Still, the screen lit up. Notes. A new line had appeared, as if someone typed it while I walked. Don't knock. I backed away, filmed 1 last wide shot, and left. That night in my hotel, I reviewed the footage. The video looked normal, but the audio had something underneath the wind. 3 quiet taps. Tap, tap, tap. Then between the taps, a whisper in my own voice. Again. I didn't say that word on camera, not once. After Colorado, I told myself the taps were just audio artifacts. I even Googled microphone tapping noise in cold wind, like that would fix the feeling in my stomach. But on December 9th, while I was home dumping footage onto my hard drive, my camera started playing a clip by itself. No mouse click, no shortcut. Just the timeline jumping to the moment the taps happened. Tap, tap, tap. And then the whisper again. Again. I shut the laptop, walked into the kitchen, and stood there with the lights on, like a kid after a nightmare. That's when I noticed something that made it worse.
There was a thin strip of muddy snow on my floor mat. I hadn't worn my boots inside. That was when I decided the list wasn't a joke. It was a sequence. And I was already in it. The second location was in Minnesota, Lake Itasca. Tourist-friendly, family-friendly. The list didn't say Lake Itasca. It said, Back Bay, the ice that doesn't crack. I drove north on December 12th. The farther I went, the colder the air got, until it felt sharp in my lungs. At the park, everything was normal. People taking photos by the Mississippi Headwaters sign. And then I walked away from the noise. Back Bay was just quieter. More trees, fewer people. A small inlet where the ice looked darker, like the water below was closer to the surface. No fences, no signs. But I noticed something right away. There were no animal tracks near the edge. No deer prints, no rabbit marks, nothing. I filmed the shoreline, kept my distance, and spoke softly. You hear that? Nothing. No cracking. And that's when I realized my mistake. Because the ice didn't crack, but it did respond. A ripple moved under the surface, not on top, under, like a shadow passing beneath frosted glass. Then my camera lens fogged, only the center, as if someone breathed onto it. I wiped it. The fog returned instantly. My hands started to tremble, and then the most unnatural thing happened. My footsteps stopped sounding like footsteps. Snow has a crunch. You always hear yourself. For about 10 seconds, I heard nothing from my own boots. And in that silence, I heard 3 taps again, faint, from the direction of the ice. Tap, tap, tap. I stepped back. The crunch returned, like a mute button released. That night, reviewing the footage, I found a frame I didn't remember recording. A close-up of the ice, as if I leaned right over the edge. But I didn't. I swear I didn't. And in the reflection on the dark ice, there was a shape behind me. Tall, narrow, and too still. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the crunch of snow, and then nothing. Like my own footsteps being erased. The next morning, a park employee in a ranger jacket asked if I'd been out by Back Bay. He didn't sound accusatory. He sounded tired. I asked how he knew. He nodded toward the salt on my boots and said, "People come back from there quieter." Then he added, like he hated himself for saying it, "If you heard tapping, don't answer it." I laughed like I didn't know what he meant. He didn't laugh back. The third place was in Pennsylvania, Kinzua Bridge State Park, the old viaduct ruins that tourists photograph in daylight. The list had one line: under the fallen span, don't count the beams. I went on December 18th because the valley was covered in fresh snow. It made the twisted steel look clean, like nature was trying to hide what happened. I followed the trail down, staying on marked paths. Under the fallen structure, the wind pushed through gaps in the steel, whistling at different pitches. It sounded almost comforting. That comfort was the trap. I raised my camera and started narrating. And without thinking, I did what the list told me not to do. I counted. 1 beam, 2, 3,
At 6, the sound changed. At 9, it changed again. At 12, the wind stopped completely. And in that silence, my mouth kept moving. I could feel myself speaking, but I couldn't hear my own voice, like someone had pulled the sound out of the air. I lowered the camera, confused, and saw something in the snow near the steel. A footprint. One single print. Bare, long-toed. It wasn't leading anywhere. It wasn't coming from anywhere. It sat there like a signature. Then the wind came back, hard, like a breath released, and my hearing snapped back with it. That night, my footage had a new problem. The audio didn't match my lips. I could see myself talking, but the captured sound was someone else. Low, close to the mic, counting softly, in time with my mouth, but not in my voice. And after the number 12, the voice said, "Good." I deleted that clip 3 times. Each time it reappeared in my folder with a slightly different file name. Same video, same audio, like my computer was keeping it for me. By then I'd stopped telling friends what I was doing, not because I didn't want help, because I didn't want anyone else listening.
Neutral. The 4th location felt wrong immediately because it wasn't winter the way people picture it. Ominous. Southern California. The Salton Sea. Ominous. The list said, ominous. Bombay Beach. Winter quiet. Do not follow the music. Neutral. I arrived on December 26th. The air was cool, but the place felt like winter anyway. Empty streets, abandoned buildings, and a shoreline that looked sick. Ominous. The silence there isn't snow silence. It's dead water silence. The kind that makes your voice feel rude. Neutral. I filmed around the broken trailers and salt-crusted sand. It was eerie but manageable. Ominous. Then I heard music. Ominous. Faint. A melody like an old radio in another room. Not loud enough to identify, just enough to pull you. Tense. I stood still and listened. The melody looped. Tense. And the moment I focused on it, I felt pressure behind my eyes. Tense. My phone buzzed again. Ominous. Notes app. New line. Ominous. Don't follow. Reflective. Slow. I should have left. Tense. Instead, I tried to prove it wrong. Tense. I walked toward the sound. Ominous. It led me between 2 abandoned trailers. The air smelled like metal and rot. The ground crunched with salt. Ominous. And then the music stopped. Tense. I froze. Ominous, because now I could hear something else. Ominous, slow, breathing. Ominous, slow, close. Not mine. Ominous, in, out, tense. And then 3 taps. Not on metal, not on a door. Tense. On the inside of my skull, it felt like. Tense. Tap, tap, tap. Tense. My vision blurred for half a second, and when it came back, I was standing somewhere else, 15 feet away, facing the shoreline. Tense. I had no memory of turning. Calm, my camera was still recording. Ominous, when I reviewed that clip later, the video showed a shadow pass across the lens, like a hand covering it. Ominous, and in the audio, a calm voice said, "Tense. Keep going. Tense.
I checked the timestamp on my camera. It said I'd been recording for 22 minutes, but I would have sworn it was 5. Ominous. On the drive back to my hotel, my radio kept catching the same 3 notes, a tiny loop of that melody, no matter what station I changed to. Every time it happened, my hands tightened on the steering wheel, waiting for the taps. Ominous. That night I opened my suitcase and found a new item tucked under my shirts. A plain white receipt with nothing printed on it except 3 ink dots. Dot, dot, dot. Like the paper itself was tapping. Neutral, the 5th place brought me back to the Atlantic. The island. Ominous, the list said. Ominous. No man's land. Winter landing. Do not sleep. Reflective. Slow. After the 4th place, I decided to stop. I told myself it was coincidence. I told myself I had enough for a top 5 video. Ominous, then. On January 2nd, 2025, I got another email from the same anonymous sender. Ominous, you started it. Finish it. Ominous, attached was a 5-second clip filmed inside my car at night. In the passenger seat there was a shape. Dark. Tall. Seated upright like a person pretending to be human. Tense, the clip ended with 3 taps. Tense. Tap. 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 Serious, I didn't sleep after that. Neutral, so on January 4th, I met a local charter captain near Martha's Vineyard. I told him I wanted winter footage near no man's land. From the water. No landing. Tense, he looked at me like he'd heard it before. Then he said, "We don't go close." Neutral, I offered more money. He hesitated, then agreed to get me near enough for filming a still on the boat. We reached a point where the island was a low gray mass against the sea. The winter sky was flat and the water was dark.
And then the captain's radio hissed. Not a transmission. Not static. A whisper. Don't. The captain's face went pale. He shut the radio off instantly. "What was that?" I asked. He stared straight ahead and said, "That wasn't Channel 16. The boat drifted. The captain tried to restart the engine. It didn't turn over. My stomach dropped because I knew the pattern. I knew what came next. The anchor line tightened as if something pulled it from below. The boat turned slightly, without the captain steering, and lined up toward the island like a compass needle finding north. Then, from the air around us, not through the radio, not through my phone, I heard a voice. Calm. Close. "You made the list." My mouth went dry. My hands went numb. The captain whispered, "We're leaving." But the engine wouldn't start, and the boat kept inching forward. That's when I saw it on the shoreline. A straight path pressed into the grass, leading inland, and beside it, a dark shape standing still, facing the water like it was waiting. My camera was recording, my mic was recording, and my phone buzzed one last time. Notes app. A final line. Do not review alone. Before I get to the twist, I need you to understand how I felt on that boat. I wasn't thinking about ghosts. I wasn't thinking about legends. I was thinking about embarrassment. About explaining to authorities why I was near a protected island in winter. About being the guy who went too far for content. And then the voice spoke, and that normal fear died instantly. Because nothing human talks like that. Nothing human sounds calm when it has you. Here's what I finally understood in that moment. Those 5 places weren't haunted tourist spots.
They were checkpoints. 5 different kinds of winter silence. Mountain, lake, ruin, Dead Sea, island. Each place takes something from you. Your sound, your memory, your sense of direction. And each place gives you the same thing back. A rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Like a code. Like a knock. Like something learning how to get in. I told the captain to turn on the cabin lights. Bright. Every light we had. The second the lights came on, the dark shape on the shore shifted. Not stepping, not walking. Flickering. Like it hated being seen clearly. The captain tried the engine again. This time it started. We turned hard away from the island and sped towards safety. 2 days later, on January 6th, 2025, I did what I was warned not to do. I sat alone and reviewed all 5 clips in order. Mountain, lake, ruins, Dead Sea, island. Then the 5th video kept playing past the point where I stopped recording. Black screen, audio only, almost a full minute. And in that minute, I heard 2 voices. The captain's voice, faint. "We're leaving." And then my voice, my exact voice, answering, calm and certain. "No, next season." Then 3 taps. Tap, tap, tap. I sat there in the dark, realizing something I still can't accept. I don't know if that was a recording of me or a rehearsal. So here's my warning, plain. If you ever find a winter place that feels too quiet in a way that makes your own footsteps disappear, leave. Don't test it. Don't turn it into content. Because the worst places don't try to scare you, they try to train you. And if you're wondering whether I'm done with that list, I woke up this morning with sand in my car, and taped to my steering wheel was a printed page. 5 locations, the same list. But this time, there was a 6th line at the bottom. Bring someone. Stay with me.